Okay, sorry for the loud banging there.
Yeah.
We're going to call the meeting to order for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for November 27th, 2018, and we're going to start out with the invocation, and following that, I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd join me in standing as the Vice Mayor offers invocation.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight in prayer, thanking you for this great nation that we live in, for all the freedoms that we enjoy, for the freedoms that we have locally. We ask your blessings to be upon the people who protect those freedoms. We know that during this time of season that separation between families is difficult. We have a lot of servicemen that are overseas. We ask your blessings to be upon them, be upon the providers that protect our freedoms locally. We also ask your blessings upon us as aldermen, mayor. We ask that you give us the spiritual wisdom and guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now's an opportunity for citizens to make comments for items that are not on the agenda. Our typical process is there are speaker cards on the next to the post in the middle of the room, and you give those to me. I have none tonight and assume there are no citizen comments on items that are not on the agenda. We'll move on to communications from the Williamson County Commission. If anybody from the commission is here, raise your hand. I see no one. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from October the 29th, 2018, 2 p.m. work session. CIP Parks, November the 12th, 2018, 2 p.m. special work session. CIP Facilities, November the 13th, 2018, 5 p.m. work session. And November the 13th, 2018, 17 Board of Mayor and Aldermen. That's a mouthful. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Passes. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Are there any recognitions tonight or any miscellaneous reports? Mr. Stuckey.
I'd like to announce a couple important events that are coming up at the end of this week. We have scheduled our annual Christmas tree lighting for Friday evening. Our plan right now is for that to kick off around 6 o'clock with the formal program starting at 7 p.m. and probably light the tree at 7:30. I will tell you the forecast is not good. Continuing our trend in 2018 where it rains on every event we have. We have thunderstorms now forecasted for Friday. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. We have an option to do an alternative time and date if the weather is not cooperating on Friday, to move it to Sunday evening we'd go from 4:30 to 6:30 if we have to shuffle it. And we've been able to have our entertainers and choir and even a backup Santa there for us should we need it and move it on Sunday. So we'll try to make that call on Thursday morning and get the word out far and wide if we need to shift it. So we appreciate everybody keeping an eye out for that. It's a great event, great community event that has really grown over the years as we light up the tree and light up the square. The next item is we have the annual Kiwanis Christmas Parade on Saturday. It steps off at 2 p.m. And that's our largest parade in Franklin. And so I believe that's going to happen 2 p.m. rain or shine as far as I know. So hopefully it won't rain on our parade on Saturday. But that's your two updates for important events coming.
And the real Santa will be in the parade.
The real Santa is always in our parade.
And the real Santa will be here whichever day.
Yes, yes, that's right.
So, great. Thanks. For any other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. They will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. Tonight, we're considering items number 5 through 9. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Bransford.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Alderman Martin.
I would like to remove, is it too late to do that? I want to remove number 7. I'm sorry, not number 7.
Number 5?
Number 5.
Number
Is it
7 on the work
5?
session.
Okay, 5, I'm sorry, number 5.
That That's okay with the original motion maker?
Yes, sir.
Sure. So approve the consent agenda by, with removal of item number 5, move to the voting session. So we have a motion, we did have a second, you okay with that second? Okay, so any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 3, consideration of ordinance 2018-35, an ordinance to amend Title 10 of the City of Franklin Municipal Code to add a new Chapter 3 to restrict the sale of dogs and cats at pet stores. Is there a motion?
I move for approval.
Second.
Seconded. Who was the second? Alderman McClendon? Okay, any discussion? Alderman Berger, I recognize you since you made the motion.
I'd like to offer an amendment to this also and go back to our original intent to prohibit retail sales of dogs, cats, except through rescue and pet adoption days for any retail sales. So that would read, to prohibit retail sales of dogs and cats except through rescue and pet adoption days. I just want to say, that's an amendment. I'll need a second to that first.
Second.
All right. And then I'd like to speak to that.
Go ahead and
All right.
speak to the amendment.
First of all, I just want to be really clear and upfront that I'm a business owner myself, actually, and I'm a promoter of local and small businesses, and I'm a huge supporter of our enterprise, free enterprise and capitalist society, or system for economic system that we have in the United States. But there are currently no retail sales, that means storefront sales, selling dogs and cats in Franklin today. So this ordinance would not affect any current businesses, and nor will it will not affect any current businesses, but it will limit future retail sales of dogs and cats in Franklin. Upon passage of this ordinance tonight, this evening, all retail pet supply companies will still be able to fully operate as they do today, and they can still host pet adoption days for rescues as they currently practice today. That won't change. This only curtails future retail sales, storefront sales of dogs and cats here in Franklin. And over 250 cities throughout the United States have such an ordinance. Of these, 7 cities have had this ordinance challenged in some fashion in court, and all 7 of those cities have won in the courts, and their ordinances have been upheld. We've had 2 state representatives come here and speak before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in favor of this ordinance. Williamson County District 65 State Representative Sam Whitson, and Cumberland-Bledsoe County District 25 State Representative Eric Swafford. They both shared that we should enact this ordinance now, since they fought hard to kill a bill earlier this year that lobbyists tried to get passed that would have limited our cities and our counties' abilities to regulate these kinds of things in our own communities on these issues. Franklin, I want to be clear about this as well, because I think this is really important. Franklin is a designated pet city. We celebrated that with lots of fanfare a couple years ago here in Franklin. And we are also home to the U.S. corporate offices of Mars Pet Care. Franklin is a forward-thinking city and should not allow pet stores to source animals from commercial puppy mill breeders. This not only promotes neglect and cruel environment of commercial breeding and puppy mills, but it is a health issue for dogs, cats, and yes, human beings. And frankly, it should be an embarrassment to our fine city. As an alderman, I ask the aldermen here on this board for your positive support tonight with this ordinance. Thank you.
Alderman McClendon.
I have long advocated the least restrictive means to accomplish the admirable and necessary goal of protecting the welfare of animals and the health of humans. I still think that it's appropriate to use the least restrictive means to accomplish the goals. along the way, I've spoken with a lot of advocates, and I kept hearing on one side that no reputable breeder would deal with a retailer. And on the other side, I heard from sample size of one that I only deal with reputable breeders. And so it appeared to me that a reasonable compromise, and I'm not necessarily always in the business of making compromises, but it looked to me like a reasonable compromise was to say, well, then fine, declare the source of your animals, and everyone will then have the benefit of that. There was a problem with that, though, because I spent some time trying to figure out where that would lead. And the best source of any information, of course, would have been from the inspection reports themselves. If you knew the breeder, you could go online and look at the breeder and look them up, and it takes a little bit of doing, but eventually you can get there. And what you get is nothing. They're all redacted heavily, and there's nothing there. The next best source, I guess, would be whatever people post on the internet, which is, take that for what it's worth, who knows. I was hopeful that a person who told me that they only deal with reputable breeders would simply would find it not a problem to post the breeder source for their animals. I don't really know why, but that's not the option that that person took. They've closed. So it appears to me that in fact making people disclose the source of their puppies might actually prevent anyone from opening, but I think in the end, if I really want to make sure that nobody can sell a puppy mill puppy, that we should just prohibit the retail sales of these animals. So that's what I'm going to support now. I appreciate all the input that people have shared with us. It's always meaningful when people take the time to tell you their story. All of us up here get countless click, cut, paste emails, and to be honest with you, when I get the second one, I just create a rule and dump them all. If you didn't take more than 2 seconds to cut, copy, and paste something, I'm not going to take 2 seconds to delete it. So, but that's not what happened here. What happened here was impassioned personal stories about horrible things that have happened. So I appreciate the people that shared that, and that's, so I imagine this will pass.
Any other comments? Ready to vote on the amendment? Alderman Speedy.
First, I'll say I hope all puppy mills are eradicated, and I do appreciate everyone's passion in the room. And I really admire your grassroots efforts, because I guess in my 1 year on the board here, there's no question that this is the most emails I've received in the last 12 months. There's no question. However, from a policy standpoint, I can't support the ordinance, and it all comes back to freedom of choice from citizens in our community to make that choice of where they want to buy a companion animal. I've heard countless stories like Dana has that every breeder or no breeder is responsible, and I find that hard to believe. We've already had one store close, so they've taken their commercial rents, their jobs, their sales tax, their property tax, and left the community. So I just think it's a dangerous precedent to allow advocacy groups to come in when they're philosophically opposed to your business model, even if your business is licensed, inspected, and regulated by the state of Tennessee and the federal government. That I just think this is a slippery slope. We're headed to San Francisco's ban the sale of fur in their community. So that's why I'll be opposing it.
Are you ready to vote on the amendment? Everybody clear on the amendment?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
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 It passes 5-3. Now we're ready to vote on the motion as amended. It's open for discussion. Are you ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor say aye. I'm sorry.
I'd like to make
Vice Mayor?
a couple comments. I guess we've been going over this for probably a year or more, and when I look at this, and I'm like Alderman Speedy, I don't think anyone is in favor of puppy mills and the publicity that we've gotten and emails that we've gotten. But I'll be quite honest with you and candid with you, this doesn't eradicate a puppy mill. It doesn't do anything for that. I mean, and I've got the emails where it's 10,000 puppy mills and 2.4 million puppies or whatever it is. It doesn't do that. What it does is restrict a business that before this was legal. After this, it's not. And I don't believe that's government's function. I mean, I have a problem with that. Now, I also have some problems with the fact that the business owner himself, the emails that I've gotten were directed towards the business and the, I guess, attitude or whatever it was that the business owner exhibited in some sales and whatnot. But I don't think that's what we're here for as far as that. I'm not making a rule or regulation that says a business owner has to act in a certain manner or has to make a refund or has to, well, how he deals with the public. That's what he has to do. That's how he has repeat business or whatever it is. I think, and I agree with Alderman Speedy, I think that we're on a very slippery slope that we may not see the next wave of something come by in the next year, but I think we're on a very slippery slope. I don't think government needs to be in the business of regulating or making it illegal to do a legal business. So I'm gonna vote against the ordinance. And again, we've got 2 readings. I've got the other research that I'm gonna do, so I do, it may change. But tonight, I don't support the ordinance.
Alderman Blanton.
I've been pretty consistent about my feelings on this. And I hear what you're saying, Clyde, but I think that the other thing that I want to bring up, and which is why I'm speaking, is that it's a public health situation. I've not firsthand owned one of these animals, but my vet, who I've known for 40 years, has told me firsthand experience where it's not even that the animals are sick, it's that the animals are making its owner sick. And when we can't, to me, a public health situation does fall underneath our jurisdiction. And the unfortunate part is now it's almost a moot point that the one business that was doing retail sales is no longer here. I think regardless of what any decision tonight was, he's not gonna come back and reopen a business regardless of what we were gonna say tonight. So I just wanna make sure that people understand it's more than just a business decision or overstepping. It is overstepping in a protective way for not only the animals of our community, but the citizens of our community.
Alderman Berger.
I would say that we talk about it doesn't eradicate puppy mills, but yet it does help to do so. It also joins 250 other cities in America who are doing so, and there are many that are going to follow us because there are many out there looking at ordinances today. So joining 250 other cities with others to come, I think that will make a dent in this awful practice. If you've ever been in a puppy mill, I have. It's horrendous. And this is a living, breathing animal. This is not a cup that I can break and throw away. This is a living, breathing animal. And Campylobacter is a very real bacteria that's carried by it's majorly carried through puppy mills, and it is a very severe bacteria that a person can get, and sometimes it can be antibiotic resistant. So it is a safety issue to me as well. And it also is about the future of what Franklin will allow in their community. Will we allow a potential safety, health risk? Will we also not join these other cities in trying to eradicate puppy mills in that awful practice? It's nothing to do with reputable breeders, nothing to do with, if I want to have my lab, which I had, and had a litter of 8 puppies and sell those to responsible people, people can still do this. It does not curtail the free enterprise of people doing so. Thank you.
Alderman Speedy.
So one point of clarification, the second to last paragraph on the ordinance on page 1 says it will not affect the consumer's ability to obtain a dog or cat from a rescue or shelter or from a breeder where the consumer can directly see the conditions in which the dogs or cats are bred.
Correct.
So my question is, if someone in the city of Franklin buys from a pet broker or Craigslist or classified ads, or this weekend driving through Cool Springs, I saw a sign, Doberman puppies for sale. Are our citizens or the people who are selling those animals subject to the civil penalties of $50 a day? I mean, that's another reason I would say I would rather have a storefront to where if somebody did have a problem with one of these animals, you've got someone to go after.
Mr. Mayor, I
No.
just want to kind of pose
Wait.
that comment. Would
No.
that person have a license to be on the street doing that, or is that just a pop-up, illegal business?
Probably, yeah.
Pop-up, yeah.
Probably not
So
paying sales
perhaps
tax.
the police could get involved in that
Yes, there's
situation.
probably another,
So that would be probably the only thing I would
Pet
recommend.
broker?
We've got a city attorney there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it only addresses the retail sell. So a private interaction between a dog owner who like Alderman Berger, if they have a puppy that has a litter of puppies, they can sell those. This is about the retail sale of dogs and cats in a storefront. It would not stop those kind of interactions.
So a private transaction between two private citizens is okay, but not between the citizen and the retail store, okay?
I don't understand.
Alderman Bransford, did you have another comment?
From setting a precedent, I think my comment was around that, is that I would like to think this board give deliberation, serious deliberation to things, and we're not just automatically either approving or disproving something. I think we should be given considerable deliberation about these matters, so I don't see this as a slippery slope.
Any other comments? Are you ready to vote
Yes.
on the amended motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-3. Item 4, consideration resolution to amend Resolution 2018-61 to extend the grace period for mobile food vendors to operate temporarily on private property through June the 30th, 2019, until the City of Franklin Board of Mayor and Aldermen have adopted a comprehensive mobile food vending ordinance, whichever occurs first.
Move approval.
second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 5, consideration ordinance 2018-43, an ordinance to rezone 22.07 acres from the detached residential R1 district to the specific developmental residential SDR 2.04 district for the property located north of South Carruthers Road and east of Carruthers Parkway, 4338 and 4340 South Carruthers Road, establishing a public hearing date of January the 8th, 2019. Alderman Martin, you asked this to be pulled. Will you make a motion?
I have asked the developer,
Will you make a
Oh.
motion so we can get it into discussion?
all right, I just want to say why I pulled it.
Well,
Someone needs to make a motion.
Let me make a motion to approve the ordinance, then you can discuss why you've asked to.
Is there a second?
Second.
It can be voted
Second by
down.
Alderman
Second.
Berger. Okay, Alderman
Now
Martin, I
you're ready.
recognize you.
I asked the developer during the work session to look again at the plan for home locations and to try to realign the lots to be backed up to neighbors that would not be affected by the closeness of the homes. And if this can be done, I will support it. But I would look at it long and hard before I supported it if it could not be done, because I do think this is important.
Any other discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
second.
Second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? All in favor? You can have no discussion, so everybody in favor say aye.
Talk about it.
Opposed? Passes
Talking about
unanimously.
adjourning, I don't think